Hi guys, Dr. Rama here for part 4 of our shame series. Today I'm going to kind of elaborate a little bit on some video in this series, but just in case you aren't aware of what I'm talking about, I will kind of expand on it a little bit. And what this kind of comes down to, and there's a separate series on this that I can direct you guys to, but the core of what I do is helping turn instinct into intuition. What does that mean? Really quickly, instinct is what everybody calls our fight or flight response. It is an ingrained response that is in every animal. Every living being on this planet has it. Trees have it. Flowers have it. Bees have it. Beetles have it. Rats have it. Horses have it. Dogs have it. Wolves have it. Every animal, and then humans, we all have a fight or flight response. It is up until humans came around, and even in the early human evolution, it was a very important response to have, because we were not living in the current age we are now, which is where our basic safety was dependent on how accurate this response was and how well we responded to it. Knowing what to do, when to fight, when to leave to save ourselves. And then every other animal kind of applies the same principle. What happens now is that, really quickly, we are now in an age of where this response really becomes more of a problem than a solution. Whereas before, it really helped us kind of figure out, okay, this is a dangerous situation, let's move out of here. Now it is a reaction that always gets simulated when there really is no danger, in the traditional sense of what in the spirit of what this reaction was meant for. So if people are constantly stressed out, stress is what drives fight or flight. Problem is that a lot of our stress is manufactured. It's not real stress. It's not the stress that nature intended us to understand and then either fight or flee away from. Having a deadline at work is not a bear coming at us trying to eat us. It's the traffic jams or be running late to work or something like that is not, I don't know, what the hell is this? Is not something that is inherently dangerous to us the way that a tornado or a hurricane might be. So we are now in an age where we have to evolve past, and we have to do this consciously, like we have to consciously make an effort every day to evolve past our fight or flight response, our instinct, and move it into a more intuitive intuition realm, which is much more grounded and has no sense of frenetic energy to it. So anybody who's ever felt real, if you've ever been chronically stressed out, like most of the population is, particularly in the United States, or if you've ever been in a car accident or something where your life really was in danger, you understand what fight or flight feels like within you. And it is, it's a jolt. It really is required to get you to pay attention and then act without having too many thoughts in between, because if you don't, you're dead. That is the reason that this reaction exists. Problem is, we don't need that most of the time. Intuition is acting from a very grounded place. It is also instantaneous, but it's using not the inner part of your brain that is programmed with the fight or flight, but it's more using the outer, newly evolved portion of your brain, your frontal lobe, your prefrontal cortex. In using all of that, you're literally transferring your response, your instantaneous response from your amygdala and your limbic system to outside and literally bringing all of that evolution, all of that energy and learning how to process everything instantaneously from the outer half of your brain. The newer portion of your brain, particularly up here in the frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex, frontal lobe is actually what I meant to say, is where all the executive functions happen. And that is what makes us inherently human. And what the core of the work that I do is helping you learn how to do that in every aspect of your life, and continually being able to do that in a way that works for you, and so that you will always know how you respond and know like it's very personalized. It's just for you, because we are all, while we are all the same, we are all very different. But that's the core of what I do, and is helping turn instinct into intuition. Because what happens is that when we are operating out of instinct, and this is particularly relevant to this group because it's around mental health, we will experience things like depression, addiction, anxiety, and name every other disease is really just a manifestation of those. So some combination of thereof, but all of those, when we operate out of instinct, when we are still operating by our like the Paleolithic part of our brains, it's a old response that we no longer need as humans anymore. So it's like nature isn't going to naturally evolve it out. We have to do that work. We are now in a way where we can become more intuitive beings rather than more instinctual beings. And we can literally change human nature that way. We have the ability to do that. That's why we are so incredibly lucky to be humans. So now that little spiel is done, sorry for that, I didn't mean for that to be that long. But this light is really weird. Now that we have that, when you are feeling any emotion, this week we're talking about shame, but any fear, pain, worry, anxiety, depression, again, all of those emotions are fear-based, instinctual, like they're fight or flight emotions. They're meant there, you're acting in those to protect yourself. Okay, so when you're experiencing those, you're not going to be operating from your highest self, for lack of a better term. I'm like, the first thing that came to mind for me was that. So if you're not operating from your highest self, you're not going to make the best decisions for yourself, even if they're unpopular. You're not going to be able to get the progress that you're looking for. You're not going to be able to have the things and the situations and the people in your life that you desire. What happens there then is that, like, with shame is one of those like really core emotions that we've all experienced, and but because of its nature, it is very fear driven. There's a lot of pain involved with it, and pain will trigger a fight or flight response. That is kind of why it's there. And especially psychic pain. Psychic pain will always trigger a very old habits, very old patterns that you have. And emotional pain, psychic pain, and it's really important to be aware of how you react to those, and shame is one of those triggers for it, because it involves a lot of pain that you will feel for yourself, because you're like, I'm not good enough. And when you tell yourself that, and that emotion is just like, again, we spoke about this before, that it's going to be like right here in your solar plexus is really where shame is going to kind of hit you, but it can be a full body experience. And it's really important to understand that when that happens, when your entire body is kind of reacting to something, that is fight or flight. And shame is one of those emotions where you will respond that way. That's why when a lot of people feel triggered, they are literally like, there's a twitch when you feel triggered. And especially when it comes around to shame, that I've noticed in a lot of people, actually their bodies will shift a little bit when they're feeling shame. And it's important to know that it's okay. You need to feel these things. And you need to create awareness around it. It is so important to do that. Because if you don't know, then you can't change it. You cannot evolve it into a more intuitive response. So when it comes to shame, what you're trying to do is understanding where your feelings of unworthiness is coming from. because again, underlying it is this feeling of you're not good enough. I don't have any control. I have no power. I don't have the confidence to do X, Y, and Z, or to present myself as X, Y, and Z. All right. So that's where shame is coming from. And then in order to change that into confidence and personal power and self-esteem and self-worth, you have to first recognize that you're operating in that place at all. And then understanding that as a human being, you are inherently worthy. And then how would you act if you were perfect? Because you are. And so there's a process there that is, it seems a little bit long-winded, as I just took a minute to kind of think about what I spoke here, and I'm almost like, I feel like it's a little long-winded. But I hope it makes a little bit of sense. So I'm actually going to kind of stop there. I know that's kind of an awkward way to kind of stop for a second, but I would really like you guys to kind of post any questions you have about what I've said so far, because I feel like this is something that I may have to delve into a little bit deeper. But to really understand that the negative emotions we have are there designed to protect us, but when we operate from a place of protection, of just surviving, an instinct, in fight or flight, you are most likely going to make decisions and take actions that are not going to serve your end goal. Because when you dream of something or you have a goal, most of the time those goals will come from your higher self, the fullest expression of you, and that's going to require you to have a lot of courage and to face these fears. Why this group is called Courageous Mental Health Mastermind is because it takes a lot of guts to feel the fear, understand where it's coming from, and then transform it with love into intuition. What I would really like you guys to do, if you have any questions at all, no question is too stupid or too dumb. This is a lot of complex stuff. Please post them below, and I will answer them. So that I hope all this stuff kind of makes sense, because the next few videos is really going to kind of tie all this stuff together, and I would really like to make sure that everybody understands where I'm coming from for the next couple of videos. All right, guys? So please post your questions in the comments below, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.